Do. Okay, so we are live. So we'll see. There you are. Can you see yourself?
I can. Are we on the St. Constantine and Helen channel?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's what I've been posting.
I only do that one that works. So let's hope everything's good. And there's one person now following, and we'll give it. Four. Let's start and jump up already. We're 5 minutes early, so just give some people time to log in. It should be okay. Six people. One sec. I'm going to try to get something to boost you up a little bit so you're a little higher. All right. I think I got something.
There we go. There I am. Hi, everybody. So we're live. We're going to wait a couple of minutes until more people join us.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and post some questions for us to answer.
Yeah.
Very bizarre seeing me sitting there beside you.
It's creepy. It's okay. And the empty church with the light coming through. It's not.
Lots of symbolism there, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's okay.
Okay.
Let's see how it goes. Of course, Father Costa tries to call me right now. What a guy.
Say that again?
Father Costa Ciolos is trying to call me right now. It's popping up on the iPad. What a guy. I'm going to send him a text. I'm going to say, why are you trying to call me now? Huh?
So for all of you just joining us, we're just waiting a couple minutes to see how many more people want to join us right at 7 o'clock, and then we'll get going. But if you have questions, please post them in the chat. If you would prefer that they are private or anonymous, you can always email us at Fr.TEDTalks@gmail.com. And actually, I'll put that here. Father, do you have any questions in there that you want to, were there any questions in there from last week?
Nope.
Okay.
We answered all the questions last week.
Okay. Awesome.
We're at, what time is it? 7 exactly now.
I think you've got me paused, Father.
I don't have you paused. I never touched the iPad. There you are. When you do stuff, I think it pauses you
There we go.
on the laptop.
We're good now.
No, you're paused again.
Oh, I see why. Okay.
Yep,
I got you.
you're doing it.
It's me.
I know. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We got 14 people.
All right, shall we get started?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so welcome everybody for edition number 2 of the live Father Ted Talks with, of course, Father Ted Paraskevopoulos and myself, Tina Krepis. The purpose of these chats, as they've always been, is to talk about our faith, answer important or maybe small, maybe you think not important questions that people have about our faith, and of course to just kind of talk about various things that are going on in people's lives and what they're thinking about. Father Ted and I started doing this a couple of years ago, but never live, and so like I said, edition number 2, and we're looking forward to some questions. So if you have something that you want to know, please post it in the chat and we would be happy to answer it.
All right, we have one question. It's pretty straightforward.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, it says, so what happens now with those people booked for weddings and baptisms?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a simple answer. Most people have just moved them, right? So they've rescheduled everything. So it's not really a big issue. It's a bigger issue for them because they have to sit there now and find, rebook their venues. But I'd imagine everybody is going through that right now. So pretty much all our baptisms and weddings, well, there were no weddings during Lent because we can't do weddings during Lent. For those of you who didn't know that, during the the fast, there are no weddings, but you can do baptisms. And so, but even those weddings that were booked immediately after Easter, Pascha, then they've moved them. Most of them have moved them into July now and maybe later. So, or have rebooked for the fall. And we'll see what happens now because we're estimating when the quarantine will end, right? So that's pretty much, yeah.
One of the things that you and I often talk about is yayology, which is sort of like this idea of the things that we've learned from our grandmothers about the faith that may or may not be true, or things that kind of trouble us. And so as a follow-up to that question, I myself have my daughter's baptism booked for very soon and are obviously looking at the prospect of moving it. And so something that, various people have asked me is like, aren't you worried about her not being baptized? Aren't you worried that, something, who knows, could happen or something before she gets baptized? So I'm lucky because we have this relationship where we talk about these things, but what would you say to those people who have those kinds of questions?
Well, I guess the first question would be, what are you worried about, right? So, it's like we don't, we should move away from kind of looking at baptism as a superstitious thing. Like maybe some people have this idea that, if something, God forbid, happens to the child and the baby's not baptized, then what's going to happen? Like God's not going to take care of that baby. That's not the reason why we baptize children or why we baptize people. We don't baptize people so they can go to heaven or so they can get into the club before they die. That's not the purpose of baptism. The purpose of baptism is to enter into the body of Christ, right? The living body of Christ, which is the church, so that we can grow within that body of Christ and we can learn and we can train ourselves. Can participate in the spiritual sacramental life of the church. So as we grow, we become strong followers of Christ, strong Orthodox Christians, and we create a relationship with God. If a baby doesn't have the ability to do that, it doesn't mean that they will be judged any more harshly or less, depending on that. We believe that God will take care of them no matter what. It's just, we try to baptize our children as we should be, sorry, let me rephrase that. We should be trying to baptize our children as soon as possible. Why? Because why wouldn't we want them to enter into the body of Christ, into the same body that we're part of, so that they can be one with Christ, and they can start receiving the Holy Spirit and receiving the body and blood of Christ through communion and all these things, right? Why wouldn't we want them to have that benefit as early on as possible? So that they can also have a chance in their lives to call themselves a servant of Christ, to be one of his disciples, right? This is why we baptize children, not because we want to, we're afraid anything bad's going to happen to them. The problem is that most people, they're waiting too long, in my opinion, now to baptize their children. They're waiting a year, more than that, and in my opinion, babies should be baptized as early as possible. Even 3 months, 4 months. Like I know a lot of people, they're still kind of like recuperating from the actual birth and trying to find their bearings, especially when it's their first child. But we should be baptizing our children as young as possible so that we can get them communing, get them enculturated into the church. They can start growing within the faith as soon as possible.
Yeah, and to be clear, like exactly like you said, that is the sort of theology fear. People say you have to baptize or something like that. But as you mentioned, that's not the point of the baptism at all.
Correct. We have some questions coming in now.
Yeah, we do. Okay, so the first question that came through is, what happens now on Holy Wednesday with the blessing of the holy oil and an empty church?
Yeah, no, it's the reality is that it's the same thing that happens with all the sacraments so far in the last 2-3 weeks. Actually, last 2 weeks now that we've been in complete lockdown, is that we're basically. I answered this question last on Saturday as well. We're basically doing all the services as if they would, they're not changing. The services still are performed and prayed and done properly, but the difference is that there's only the bare minimal, like skeleton crew, I guess you could say, right? And that skeleton crew is basically 3 people. It's the priest, the people who are like essential, the priest, the chanter, because you have to have a chanter to sing the responses, and at least one other person to receive the sacrament, whether it be anointing with holy unction or holy communion. You have to have somebody to receive the sacrament, or else there's no point in doing the sacrament, right? According to the Orthodox tradition. And so this is kind of what we're doing out of necessity, not because we want to, but out of necessity. And so, yeah, that's with the holy oil. We haven't really. That's a good question. I should bring that up with the Archdiocese. Maybe we can keep the holy oil that we blessed and distribute it later, after, when the church quarantine lifts. I don't know. I'll have to speak to the Archbishop about that. It's a good question. But as far as it actually being anointing the people, we won't be able to do that, just like we're not able to commune the people right now either. So that's unfortunate reality.
Related, I guess, as well, in terms of actual administrative things, the question that came up now is, where should we send the names to be read for Lazarus Saturday and for Good Friday? Yeah,
so send them to me. Send them directly to me. My email is public. It's on the church website, Fr.TED@mac.com, mac.com. You can send them to the Fr.TEDTalks at Gmail. You can email the church, Saints Constantine and Helen, church, St. Constantine and Helen Church at Bellnet. Like there's a ton of places you can send them, and we get them all. So whether you email the church email to the website, or you email me directly, which is the fastest way. I already have a list of people that I'm praying for during the coronavirus pandemic. So I have a list of people who are living, who are sick. I also have a list of people who have passed away. Even memorials, for example. Like we can't do memorials during Holy Week. We only Lazarus Saturday. Lazarus Saturday is the last time we can do memorials until Thomas Sunday. So even memorials, we don't have Koliva here, but. Like last Sunday, if you watch on the video from on our channel, I did the memorial, and people had sent in the names of their loved ones, whether it be for a year or 6 months or whatever it is, and I read the names. I did the memorial properly, just without Koliva here. So you can send them all in to me, and I'll make sure that I read them.
So in that thread, the question now is there a way of getting palm leaves? Now I imagine it's the same as the holy oil that we don't really know yet, but do you want to address that?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
About palm leaves, how to get? Is there a way to get palm leaves?
No, there's no way to get anything right now. That's the reality, right? Like it's and the bishop's new encyclical that came out a couple of days ago, it clearly says that. It's the same all around the world, especially in the States and everywhere else. Is that we cannot distribute anything to the people. Like we can't do it for purposes of we don't want to spread anything, but also logistically we can't. Like how would we even? Especially in big parishes where we have multiple people, like how would we even, even facilitate that, right? So you had a great idea, and you started, I think it was a group on Facebook about it, because we talked about how to receive the light. And so do you want to talk about that? Yeah. So what we did was we discussed this with Tina, and we thought, you know what, Tina went a little bit paused for a minute there. But, I'm here. I just keep checking of the chat. Sure, no problem. Basically, we know that we're in a bad situation. We know that we can't all celebrate Pascha together. We can't sing Christ is risen all in the church together, and everything's going to be streamed. But we thought that it would be a nice gesture and a unifying act if all of us, we make sure that we follow our service at home on our computers or on our TVs, because almost all the churches now are live streaming. So your home parish, you can follow it. Do the resurrection at home with your family. Have labadas. A lot of people have texted me or asked me, do we buy labadas for our kids? Yeah, buy labadas for our kids, and you can light them at your kadili. Everybody should have some type of candle or oil lamp at their icons in their homes. If you don't, set something up and light it from there. Light it from your kadili, and you can chant your Christos Anesti. We started a Facebook group that's open. You don't have to request to join it, called Pascha at Home 2020. And basically what we're asking people to do is that when it comes to Pascha night, when we all chant Christos Anesti at midnight, everybody chant it at home. Like turn off your lights, light your candles with your children, with everybody, your whole family members. Chant Christ is risen along with the priest. Follow along and film your Christos Anesti, and then post it on the group. I think it would be beautiful to be able to see everybody's different Christos Anesti from their homes. It's like it's something that it's not ideal. It doesn't replace being together in the church and following the Paschal liturgy, but it would be a very beautiful thing to see hundreds, maybe thousands, who knows how many people would do this. It would be nice for everybody to make the effort to be able to share their experience of Pascha at home, which is something we've never seen in our lifetime, and hope to God we'll never have to see in our lifetime again, to be able to post it there, and everybody can kind of gain some solidarity from seeing all their brothers and sisters celebrating Pascha, at least online together. So we do ask everybody to go to the group. It's Pascha at Home 2020. You can find it very easily on Facebook. It's an open group, and you can post your videos there on Pascha night. So.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here because you're so tech savvy, but maybe, just maybe, you'll compile it into some cool video at the very end.
Well, we'll see how many people actually send. So we'll see.
Awesome. Okay, so another question, I think I can answer this one, is, will I be able to follow the service online for Anastasy? I'm assuming that's a yes, because you've been streaming all the service.
Yeah. All this, almost all the churches have been forced to, which is a good thing, to create the capability of streaming. And so, barring any kind of technical issues, which sometimes do happen, we will be streaming all of Holy Week, starting, we will have Lazarus Saturday this Saturday, Palm Sunday. We'll have Palm Sunday, and then of course Sunday night we start the bridegroom services. Bridegroom service on Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night with the Tropario of Cassiani, the hymn of Cassiani. Wednesday we will have the Holy Unction service. Of course, Thursday morning we will have the Vesperal liturgy for the Mystical Supper. On Thursday night we will have the 12 Gospel service, again streamed. We will have a modest decoration of the epitaph afterwards. Of course, it's just going to be us, but I might have a live stream of that. We'll see. And then, of course, all the other services, Pokathilosi, the taking down of Christ from the cross, which is on Friday, midday. And then, of course, the epitaphio at night. Of course, the epitaphia will not be going out. They will not be hoisted up and taken outside the churches, but we will be doing the lamentations and the full service inside the church. Proti Anastasi on Saturday morning, the resurrectional service on Saturday night. And then, of course, the Agape service on Pascha morning, on Sunday morning. So all those services are there, the full cycle, and people can follow them online.
Awesome. Now, just I don't know if there's any other Pascha questions, and maybe we can return to that after. But because we've got some questions in a different arena, is there any other Pascha-related things you wanted to chat about now, Father?
No, I don't. Okay. I can't think of anything right now. It's just all the services will be there. We can follow them as much as we can, and if anything else comes up, we'll try to communicate it as much as possible. I will be doing. We will try to do more of these Q&As during Holy Week. So I hope to do at least 2 of them, maybe more. We'll see. We'll have to look at the schedule. But I think it would be nice to do maybe like after a bridegroom service, maybe on a Monday night or something. It would be really nice for people to be able to ask questions like fresh when they've just experienced the bridegroom service. Maybe ask questions after that. Maybe we can ask questions after the 12 Gospels when we're decorating the epitaphial. We'll see. But we'll definitely do some more live Q&As during Holy Week.
Well, one question I have actually, and somebody spoke about the Saturday of Lazarus. What names should we be including? Who should we be putting on that list to send to you?
Well, usually the Lazarus Saturday we commemorate the dead, right? Because it's a resurrectional, it's hope for the resurrection, right? Lazarus was dead 4 days in the tomb, and then he resurrected, and so we have this tradition of giving names, but we always give names. We're supposed to always give names of the living and the departed for liturgy, and Lazarus Saturday is no different. It just maybe just a little more of an emphasis on that. So yeah, most people give the names of their deceased. And they're commemorated. They're commemorated inside the liturgy. They're not commemorated it's not a separate memorial service per se. Although we do those as well. We do the service at the end as well, like a regular memorial service. But we also read all the names inside when we prepare the gifts for Holy Communion.
Okay, and then one other question about Easter that just came through was, what about the labades after, hopefully coronavirus is gone? Should they be bringing back the labades to church when they open again?
Well, it depends on when the churches reopen, right? So what do we do every other year? Every other year, a lot of times we bring our labades during the 40 days. We chant Christos Anesti for 40 days until the Ascension, right, in the Orthodox tradition. And then we stop singing Christos Anesti, and then we have the Feast of Pentecost at 50 days after. So we bring our labades usually to church for those 40 days. But if we're closed for those 40 days, then we will be lighting them. We should be at home. We should be lighting them. We should be lighting them every day, and at least for a little bit, and chant our Christos Anesti. What I would recommend is that if we're home, every morning when we wake up with our kids, we should do morning prayers with them together or with our family. We should light our labada. We should chant our Christos Anesti 3 times before we do any type of prayers, right? And you should do that every single day. You don't have to keep the labada lit all day because it's going to burn down and you won't have it. But you light it a little bit and do your Christos Anesti every time. And that brings to mind also that you mentioned, Tina, do we have anything for Holy Week? Some people had messaged me before. They asked for resources, for resources during Holy Week, like how to pray at home. So I've posted in the Father Ted Talks group, which is on Facebook, and I'm also going to post the links in this video after we finish this session. I will post in the description. The links, 3 different links. They're all from the Archdiocese of America. They're really good resources. One of them is Holy Week resources. So when you click on it, it takes you to a beautiful page, and it's got a ton of stuff on different things you can do with your kids, things you can do at home, ways you can celebrate Holy Week at home and follow along streaming, but also prayers you can do and things like that. So that's a really, really amazing resource for Pascha this year, for Pascha at home. And there's another link that is, prayer resources for the time of coronavirus quarantine. So there's prayers there for deliverance from the coronavirus and other things that you can do at home. So that's also a really good dedicated page from the Archdiocese of America that's been created, and it's a really, really good resource. And then the third one is a video actually from a priest in the States who is speaking about how to maintain healthy mind and healthy spirituality during times of quarantine. So I highly recommend all 3 of those, and I'm going to be posting them. They're already posted on the Father Ted Talks group on Facebook, but they'll also be posted here in the description right after the video is posted after we finish tonight.
Yeah, and you shared that in the last video, as you mentioned, and you also sent, I think you posted it, that great blog article about the virus that stole Pascha. Yeah. That was a really good one as well, for anyone who's looking for that.
It's in the group as well.
You've already posted.
Yeah.
So these 2 questions are kind of related, and I think you kind of already addressed them a little bit. One is, will there be a way to get the Holy Light on Saturday night? I'm pretty sure that's a hard no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the same question, right? So I'm watching the comments coming in as well. Some people are asking the same questions that we already answered like 5 minutes ago, but they just logged on. So if people don't have their question answered, just go back in the video after. It's definitely answered. But it's the same thing. It's like we are incapable of being able to accommodate such massive numbers to be able to come to the church to get anything. Like people have been asking me, like I know people are racking their brains, right? Like how can we get people to commune? Can we bring them one at a time? How can we do the Holy Light? And really, if you really work it out logically, the logistics of it, it doesn't work with our massive parishes. Like how would that even work? We have here on Pascha night upwards of 800 to 1,000 people that are waiting outside for the holy light. If word got out that you could all come to the church to get the holy light, it would be pandemonium outside. And even if everybody stayed in their cars, what would that even look like? It would be like,
it would be the dreaded drive-by holy light that we've always talked about.
But you wouldn't be able to do that because 500 cars, it would create a massive traffic jam and like for blocks and blocks and blocks. It could cause car accidents. We would have problems, right? The police would show up. Like there's a lot of it. Like, logistically, it's just not feasible to do that.
One of the questions that's come up too a few times in my conversations with people is, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, and maybe this is something that you pose to your colleagues and to the Archbishop, is will the holy light, will holy unction be available afterwards? Will there be something to be done afterwards where people can get the light and get the oil and things like that?
Well, again, it all depends on when the quarantine ends, right? So like I know in Greece, they had this, like the Holy Synod in Greece, they made this optimistic statement and they said, hopefully the quarantine will be done by May 26th, which is like at the end of, it's the 40 days, right? It's right before the Ascension. It's the last time that we chant Christos Anesti in the church calendar before we put that away and then we move towards Pentecost, right? So they really, what they wanted to do, they said, well, hopefully the quarantine will be over and then we can all meet at the church on that night, right? On the eve of Ascension, and we can all do our Christos Anesti together, even though Pascha already passed and we already did it online, but we can all come together. That's a beautiful kind of idea. The problem with that is that they don't know if that's going to be possible. Like they said that they're going to do it, but what if the quarantine is not lifted, or what if there's a second wave, right? We don't know these things. And so I think it's more prudent not to make statements like that and give people hope, false hope, or say we're going to do this for sure, and then you can't do it, right? So, if the quarantine gets lifted, we'll talk about it and we'll see if we can organize something where we can do something before. But if the quarantine is not lifted before the end of the Paschal cycle, then no, we won't have a chance to, the light is not, the light is powerful because it is symbolic of the light that comes out of the tomb of Christ. The light that we spread is not from Jerusalem. Some people think that the light that comes out at Pascha night comes from the holy light fire in the tomb. It's not. Okay? People think that, like, they do send out from the tomb on airplanes to the whole world. And so, like in Greece, for example, it can get there by the Anastasi. But by no means does everybody in Greece in every chapel have the light from the holy fire, right? And in Canada and North America, we've had the holy light come here, like the miraculous light. We've had it come here, but it comes like weeks later. Like it doesn't come. There's no way to get it across the globe. So the light that we use, that we light the candles with, is from the lamp that's on the altar, right? And it's an oil lamp, just like every other oil lamp, and it symbolizes the undying flame and the prayer, the constant prayer, and the presence of the Holy Spirit in the church all the time. And so your home oil lamp is the same thing in that sense, right? So you can light it from there. Like it's not that the light that you're going to get from the priest candle is like somewhat holier or magical or things like that, right? So it's not to diminish. There's power in coming together and doing the prayer service together, of course, right? That's what makes it beautiful, not the thing. Like I don't want to fixate on the thing because that's not the point. Yeah.
So then, and I think maybe a final question around this, unless something else comes up on this. The question came through about Holy Communion. So for those who have fasted for this period of time, are waiting sort of that culminating moment where they take communion, what do you say to them?
We're gonna wait.
You have to wait, right?
We're all gonna wait. Yeah, we're gonna wait. Like it's horrible. We said this last time, right? Like it's not like again. A clarification: the fasting is for Pascha. Okay. It's not necessarily only for the Holy Communion. I don't want people to always equate fasting with reception of Holy Communion. We are not fasting just to receive Holy Communion. We are fasting for the season. We are fasting for the Lenten season, for our preparation to come to the Lord's crucifixion and resurrection, His Holy Passion and His Holy Resurrection. That's why we fast. We don't fast to get something at the end, right? We should be communing all the time. We should be communing every liturgy, at all times of the year, not just once or twice a year. This is what St. John Chrysostom tells us. We should be fasting Wednesdays and Fridays all year round and make sure that our conscience is clear, and we should be participating as Orthodox Christians in the Holy Sacraments all the time, not just once or twice a year. So we're not fasting right now so that we can culminate with receiving Holy Communion. We are fasting so that we can culminate in the whole experience of the Holy Week, the Passion and the Resurrection of Christ, right, in Pascha. That's what we're fasting for. So yes, of course, it's horrible that we can't receive the body and blood of Christ on the actual date, and we have to wait until much later. But that doesn't diminish our fasting. It doesn't make it void. It doesn't make it like, oh, I'm not going to take Holy Communion, so I stop the fasting. No. Keep fasting. Keep fasting all the way to Pascha, because this is the struggle that the Lord requires of us, and this is part of the inward journey that we make leading to his resurrection, right? So,
as an additional resource, and we haven't really talked about this in either of the two chats so far, is some of these other Father TED Talks. You've done a bunch of talks about a variety of topics. Our Mythbusters Father TED Talk was another really good one that talks a lot about fasting, about rules around fasting, what you can do, what you can't do, and things like that. So if you're looking for additional resources, obviously the links that Father Ted has posted, and will post additional ones. But go back to some of the other videos, and you'll find there's a lot of really good information out there that should help with some of these questions that you have.
Yeah, the old Father TED Talks, like the pre-created, like the highly produced kind of videos, not highly produced, but you know what I mean? They're not on this channel. They're not on the St. Constant Helen channel. They're on the Father TED Talks channel. Just search on YouTube Father TED Talks and you'll find that channel. We had a glitch with a live streaming there, and this is why we have to live stream on the church channel, because it wouldn't let us for some reason do it there. But all the old shows with Tina and other guests all over the Orthodox world, they're all there, and you can watch them at any time, and there's some really, really good topics there. So
awesome. Okay, so we're going to move away for now from, as I called it last time, the virus that shall not be named, and for now from Pascha, although please continue to post your questions in the comment section if you have something. A question that was posed earlier is on a completely different subject. It says, God bless you all. A subject I find difficult to speak of is the issue of suicide and how our church deals with it. Your thoughts, Father?
Wow, that's a big one. Okay, so very controversial subject. Why? Not because it's suicide, but because there is there is a general consensus amongst many Orthodox jurisdictions on how to approach this. There is not a uniform consensus across the whole world of the Orthodox world. So I'm going to speak from our jurisdiction, the Greek Orthodox jurisdiction, and also from the majority of jurisdictions, especially North America, and what they've agreed upon. So the issue with suicide is wrapped up with a lot of issues of mental health issues, of mental illness, of people struggling and suffering, people taking medications, side effects of medication. There's a lot of factors, right? And this is not to say that the fathers of the church in the past were not aware of some of these factors. They were. But in the past, it is true that the general stance of the Orthodox Church in the past, not now, was that suicide was a big no-no and it is a big no-no in the sense that nobody wants or should want to commit suicide. But the approach was very punitive in the past, in the sense that it was seen as the ultimate rejection of the gift of life that God has given us. It was seen as the ultimate loss of hope, because no matter how bad things get, we would like to think that if there's belief in God and there's trust in God, that we would never lose that inkling of hope that God can save us. And so in the past, the way it was approached is that a person who did that was rejecting God, almost rejecting God himself, rejecting the Holy Spirit, blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, rejecting the understanding that God even has the ability to save us, that we're completely hopeless. And so it was met with very harsh penalties in the past, that if people who commit suicide, they wouldn't give them a full funeral and things like that. The position of the church has softened in the latter years, especially with what we know about mental health issues, with what we know about addiction, with what we know about medications that have come out that did not exist in the past, side effects of medication, things like that. And so we have a lot of mitigating circumstances and mitigating factors when it comes to suicide. And so really, the majority of Orthodox jurisdictions, not all, but the majority of Orthodox jurisdictions today will do burials for people who have committed suicide. They will take a compassionate approach, both to the person who has passed away and also to the family members who are suffering. Remembering always that the church is not judge and jury, nor is the church a courtroom. The church rather is a spiritual hospital. And the job of the church is to heal the human being and to lead them towards salvation, not to pronounce judgment or to make them feel horrible about the things that they have done. This is the approach that we've always taken with confession, and this is also the approach that the church is taking with suicide. That we cannot judge. We do not know what God will do with any of us. Forget about people who commit suicide, but any of us in our sins. And so we always take a hopeful approach. We pray for the families. We pray for the person who has passed away. And we pray that God will take care of them and will have mercy on any of the sins that they may have committed. And this is the approach that has been taken in recent times. And I think that it is the pastoral approach and it is an appropriate approach. It doesn't mean that we condone it. It doesn't mean that we don't consider it to be a serious problem. And obviously, it's not something that we would say is okay. However, the judgment is God's, not ours. And our job is to pray for people. And so this is the approach now that, we always do the funeral and especially when there are mental health issues. And I've never had a situation as a priest in 12 years where I've done a suicide funeral that was not, there weren't mental health issues and other medical issues that were involved in that situation. So, I think the compassionate approach is always the best.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Another question came through with regards to, I guess it's a sign that this is a good forum for us, but the question is, would you consider doing one of these live chats with children, doing something perhaps during Holy Week or before to have something specific where kids can log in with their parents and answer any questions that they have? I know some of our kiddies are missing Sunday school, so is this something that we could do?
Why not? There's nothing stopping us. If you guys want to do it, and we want we want to have the kids on, I got no problem with that. We can do a special session. Maybe we can do something on Saturday, for example. It's Lazarus Saturday, which is only 2 days away. I know it's not a lot of time, but on Lazarus Saturday, we used to always do here at our church like a little youth retreat, and we would get the young people to make palm crosses and things like that. Now we can't do that this year, but maybe why don't we schedule Father TED Talk Kids Edition, on Saturday. We can do it in the afternoon, a little bit earlier, so it's not too late for the children. And if parents want to log in with their kids and sit in with their kids, and the kids can ask questions, of course I can't hear them, but the parents can type their questions for them, and we can, we can do it. Let's give it a try. Let's try it out this Saturday.
At the very least, you've got 3 kids and I've got 2, so we've got 5 kids that can watch.
Yeah, that's true. Although my kids will probably be logged in with my wife at home, because if I had them here, they'd be crawling all over me. So
no. Well, yeah, okay. So maybe Saturday.
Yeah. I'm down for that. If everybody wants to.
Let us know if you think that's I think we should do it, and then hopefully just spread the word if we can get as many kids as possible. I find kids have the most poignant questions. Today, my son asked me how Christ really got his powers.
He was bit by a radioactive spider.
I'm going to give him that answer,
Yeah. I can do this Saturday at 1 p.m.
Okay.
So if you guys want to do it, let's do it. And let's, nice midday live chat with the parents and the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody heard that? Heard it here first, Saturday, April, what day is that, 12th?
Yeah, I believe so. It's the 11th.
Okay.
Lazarus Saturday, and we can do it at 1 p.m. Yeah.
Father TED Talks, Kids Edition.
Sure.
This one from Homer looks more like a comment than a question, but it says, if everyone listens to the government to do this and that, maybe if everyone listens to God's words, the world would be a happier, joyful, loving place to live.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think there's space in the world to do both, right? I don't think it should be an either or situation, nor do I think that Orthodox Christians should be setting up false dichotomies like that. I don't think, people try to bait Christ into this. Like remember when the Pharisees came to Christ and they had the coin of Caesar, right? And because, the Jews didn't like to be under the Romans, right? They saw them as oppressors. As many Orthodox Christians think the government is, is an oppressor now. They're coming after our churches or something. They're not. Everybody's under the same quarantine, whether you're religious or not religious. It's the whole world. But they try to bait Christ. And they said, should we pay our taxes with these oppressive people? And what did Christ say? He said, render unto God what is God's, and render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Because he showed them the coin and he said, whose face is on this coin? He says, it's Caesar's. He says, okay, so give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's, right? So pay your taxes, right? Follow the rules and offer to God your prayers and your spiritual life, right? And everything will be fine. You have to live within the world. And so as much as we may not like certain things that are imposed on us, and there are times in history where we will be oppressed. I don't know if this is one of those times or not. Time will tell and history will judge. But there will be times when the people are oppressed. But I think the Orthodox approach has always been whatever situation we're in, it doesn't stop us from being good Orthodox Christians. It doesn't. Even the Apostle Paul talks about that. He talks about that with slaves. He was living at a time where slavery was commonplace and it was not abolished yet, right? And he said, if you're a soldier, be content to be a soldier. If you're a master, be a good master with your slaves. If you're a slave, listen to your master and be a good Christian. You know what I mean? Like whatever position you are in society back then, obviously it's different now, be the best person that you can be in that position, right? So I don't think that it has to be an either or. I think that we're dealing with a difficult situation, and I think that we can all pray and be humble, and it will pass. It will pass. We shouldn't catastrophize too much.
Yeah, and for more on that, please go back, watch the first live chat that we had, because you talked about that. You talked about
extensively
how hard of a tough pill to swallow it was when this all first happened. But upon prayer and reflection, this is not personal, what's happening to us right now. This is just something that's happening, and that this will pass.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any other questions for you here. Are there any other questions that people would like to ask about anything? It could be absolutely anything with regards to Easter, with what's happening right now, or something that you've always wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not there. I'm surprised there aren't more questions like about Holy Week or about the services or about there's a ton of stuff. Like it doesn't have to all be logistics. Like how do we get this, or how do we do this, or how can I secretly do like a lamb party? Like I had even people asking me that. Right? It's like.
Well, so you know what? Maybe I'll ask a question then, because on that note, so and maybe it's like peeling back the layers a little bit. The question came up about Holy Unction, right? Sure. And I think what we've been sort of trained to believe is that if we don't get the light, if we don't get the unction, if we don't get the palm leaves, that it's not just that we're missing something, but like something bad is going to happen, or we're not being good Christians, or something along those lines. So. Maybe could you explain a little bit about, in particular, the Holy Unction is something that I'm always interested in, about sort of what happens there and why people shouldn't be worried so much if they cannot get it right on night.
Well, I don't want to presume to know why, why people have such, anxiety about not getting it at that particular time. So I don't want to speculate. Sure. I do know. I'll say an observation, and this is not a judgment. There's not a judgment on anybody. It's just an observation of behavior. I do notice that people who are frequent churchgoers, right? So people who are regulars, they're going to church every Sunday, more than every Sunday. They're going to the special services. They're confessing. They're participating in the sacraments. They're fasting. Like they're basically, they're engaged in their faith, right? So it's not like once or twice a year. So those people tend, generally speaking, not all, to deal with this a little better, because they've been enculturated into the church, right? So they know what the church is about. They understand their faith. They understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, and they also understand that it's a bitter pill to swallow, that to be deprived of all these things that we're used to. But we understand that it will pass, and we understand that the life will continue again, like we'll pick up again, right? The rhythm, right? I find that the people who have the biggest problem during this time, and the people who have expressed like they're kind of the most anxiety and the most stress and the most anger, are the ones who only do go once or twice a year. It's not a judgment on them that they're bad Christians or whatever. What it is that when you reserve your participation in the sacraments in the church for only a couple of times a year, and there's a big build up to that. It's like, so I only go to church, Pascha, Christmas, the Capodavusto in the Dormition of the Virgin Mary, and my name day, let's say 4 times. And I fast for those times and I go, right? Because this is what I learned and this is how I was raised, right? I didn't know any other way. Those are big like buildups, spiritual buildups. And now I don't have that. So you're kind of like depriving me of the one time in like 4 or 5, 6 months that I was going to have a connection with my church, right? And so I understand that the trepidation is higher, the anxiety is higher, and the anger is upsetting because like I prepared for this one thing and now I can't have it, right? And so I would say that the solution to that in the future, and one of the lessons that we take away from this, is that we need to change. We can't be what we call C&E Christians, Christmas and Easter Christians, right? We can't be those Christians anymore. We should never have been those Christians, but we definitely should not be now. We should have a healthy, strong spiritual life and liturgical life so that we are, we've been fed on a normal and on a regular basis by the holy sacraments, communion, unction, all these things, right? It's something that we've had many times, so that even when we go into a period of deprivation because of some type of pandemic, some type of war or something, at least we've had the experience of the divine in our lives. But when we haven't had it, it makes it even worse, right? It's like a beloved family member living in another country, right? And we don't see them. We only see them maybe once a year or once every 2 years. We all have family in Greece, for example, cousins and aunts and uncles and things like that. And we love them dearly and we're very close with them, but we don't see them enough, right? And so, like let's say I only have the ability to go to Greece like once every 3 years, for example. So like I'm really excited this year because, I haven't seen my aunt, who's also my nonna, and I want to see her this summer, and I haven't been there for like 3 years. And so I'm pumped, I'm ready to go, right? And then something like this happens and all the airlines are shut down. I don't get to see them, right? It's a huge letdown because that was the one chance I had. And maybe that person is old and maybe they pass away and I never had a chance to even talk to them, right? Or even see them. Like it's a huge letdown. That's a very different experience than the people that I see here every single day, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, but you know what? I'm going to see you like in a couple of months, so it's going to be okay, right? It's the same thing with the church. Like we should never allow the church to become our estranged relative. It should be our next door neighbor. It should be the person that's with us all the time. Right.
So we did have a question come through about a particular service. So someone wanted you to explain Holy Tuesday.
Yeah. So Holy Tuesday is the same service as the other bridegroom. So we have something in Holy Week called the bridegroom services. The bridegroom services are Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. And those services are really beautiful. Who's the bridegroom? Number one, Christ is the bridegroom. He's depicted in the hymns of the church as the bridegroom who is coming to meet his bride, who is the church. The church is his bride. And he is coming to sacrifice himself for her, to die for her, which is what the husband is supposed to do for the wife. It's this symbol of beautiful, unending sacrificial love, where the person doesn't expect anything in return. This is how we talk about marriage, as sacrificial love. And so Christ is coming now to his holy passion to die for his bride, the church, to become one with her. And he did become one with us. And this is how when we receive Holy Communion, we are actually becoming one with Christ, right? With God. And so we start on Sunday night, and Christ, we have that beautiful icon of Christ, and he's got the crown of thorns, he's got the red robe the Romans put on him to make fun of him, to call him King of the Jews, and he's got the reed in his hand. They made him look like a mock king, right? And that is the bridegroom, because in his weakness, he's also strong, because he is voluntarily going through this, and he's going to overcome all these things, right? So we take this icon around the church on the first night, and we bring it around, and we bring it to the center of the solea, and we place it there, and it stays there for the next 3 nights. And so every night there is kind of like a commemoration of different events that are happening from the time that Jesus enters into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday on the donkey until his arrest and his passion and his resurrection. So every night we have a bridegroom service leading up to Holy Wednesday where we commemorate different events. Holy Tuesday is significant. Why? Because we have the Tropario of Cassiani, the hymn of Cassiani, which is, it's a dogmatic hymn. It's a hymn that's at the end of the service, which is really long and it's really beautiful. It was written by a monastic female nun whose name was Cassiani, and it's basically this beautiful poem of the sinful woman who, as we hear in the Gospel of John, and also in the Gospel of Matthew as well, the sinful woman who, in John, it's a different person, it's Mary, but in the other Gospels, it's a sinful woman who comes to Christ's feet, and she cries for her sins, and she puts this beautiful, sweet-smelling myrrh on his feet and anoints his feet, and then wipes his feet with her hair. It's this ultimate act of humility and repentance. And so this beautiful hymn, the hymn of Cassiani, is outlining and in a beautiful way talking about this woman and how she came in this deep, deep repentance. And of course, this translates to us into like our own deep repentance as we approach the Passion, that we want to follow Christ through crucifixion and also follow him to the resurrection, but first by acknowledging our own sinfulness and then being able to put that aside and follow him to the resurrection.
One thing I'm sure you'll agree, one thing that's helped me with Holy Week is having a Holy Week services book so that I can actually follow along and understand more. It helps keep me focused. So I think that's a big.
Yeah, somebody asked about that. Somebody here, I see that right after the question about Holy Tuesday, are there any particular prayers that we should be saying this week? Yeah, so I would say that the best thing to do is to follow in a Holy Week book. And if you don't have a Holy Week book, that's okay. You can find it online. There's a really good website called Ages Initiatives. Ages Initiatives. I'll put a link as well in the group and also in the description here. And basically, it's all the services pre-created, and you can download them in PDF. Sorry, guys, my throat is getting dry talking so long. And it's all the services that we have in the church day by day, and you can download them either in Greek or in English or in both languages in PDF. And it's got all the services for Holy Week there, and you can download them. It's exact services that I follow. When I use my iPad, I have the exact service there. So if you don't have the little Holy Week book that a lot of people have, either the black one or the purple one, you can just download this one on your computer and you can follow the services, and you'll see that I use the exact same English translation in my services if you're watching the live stream. And so I would just follow. I would log in. I would make sure that I was following live, or even if I can't see it live, watch it later. I would follow the services streamed, and I would chant or follow the English text of the beautiful hymns in those services during Holy Week, because the theology, all the teaching is in the hymns. It's not in the gospel reading necessarily only, or the preaching, but it's in the hymns of what is being chanted. So pay attention to the hymns. That's where you're going to get all the theology of Holy Week.
One experience I've had is that it's easier if you speak Greek, or if you can read it or at least acknowledge it. It's easier if you have one that's in both, because as your priest moves back and forth between Greek and English, you don't lose your spot. So just from a practical standpoint, I did the mistake once of downloading only in English, and then I was kind of getting lost.
Yep.
Here's another practical question for you. Let me just get back to the bottom. What's the significance of the black hat you wear during Mass? Why do you put it on and take it off at certain points during Mass?
Oh, the Kalimafi. The
Kalimafi, yeah.
Yeah, the Kalimafi. So it's kind of interesting that you'll be let down a little bit by the significance, because there isn't a lot of significance in the sense that the Kalimafi is more of a practical hat that originally, historically, was an outdoor hat. It wasn't originally in the church. It wasn't used inside the services. It was used outside in the street for priests. But eventually, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't even know the historical reason why it started to be used during different aspects of the service. I suspect, and I could be wrong about this, I would have to look it up. I've never even looked it up. I suspect that it would be used probably originally it was started to be used for processions, right? So when you would go outside, so in a Vesper service, when you have a great feast and you have the icon of the saint going around, you would always go outside and do a procession, right? Sometimes 3 times around the church, right? So when you're going to go outside, where you're going to put a hat on, right? So you put the Kalimafi on, right? And so when you would sense, like incense the people, things like that. A lot of times in villages, whatever, they would not only cense the whole church, but they would even go outside to the front, to the courtyard, right? And they would cense there. So it makes logical sense that you would put on the hat every time you're going outside. So I suspect that this is where kind of like the roots of it come from, because when you pay attention in the service, the only time the priest ever puts the kalimafi on is when he does a big procession like a liti going outside for an icon procession in the Vesper service, or when he's censing during the divine liturgy, right? Or when he's doing like an autoklasia, the blessing of the loaves, right? Or he's doing like memorial services, because a lot of times in the village too, sometimes the autoklasias would be inside the church, or sometimes they'd be right in front of the church outside, because it'd be a big panigiri and you had more people outside than inside, right? So you would come out. So there are a lot of practical reasons why the priest puts on the hat and takes it off, but it's not really a spiritual reason. So I wish I could give you a spiritual reason, but it's more of a practical thing than anything religious.
And you touched on sensing. One thing I think we talked about once in Sunday school was should the people in the church be crossing themselves every time you come out to sense them?
Yeah. So the appropriate thing is that so it's not a sin or bad if you cross yourself when the priest senses you. But the more appropriate thing to do is not to cross yourself, but to bow and accept it. Why? Because so always a good rule of thumb in liturgy is, because people say, well, when do I cross myself? I'm like, well, you know what's really good? When the priest crosses himself, you should cross yourself. That's really good. There's a reason why the priest is up there, right? Or the deacon is up there. They're leading the people in prayer. So when the priest does his cross, it's a good thing to do your cross as well, right? When the priest bows and accepts something, it's good for you to bow as well. So when the priest turns to the people and asks forgiveness before he takes communion, bows, the people should bow to him, right? So what is the priest doing? Why bow and not do your cross when he senses you? Because what do we sense? We sense things that we want to honor. So the priest will sense the altar table, right? Before the consecration of the communion happens. He'll sense the icons because he's honoring the saints, right? He senses all of you because all of you are living icons. You are the most important icons in the church at any given time. You are made in the image and likeness of God, according to the scripture, right? And so the priest, when he senses the people, he is honoring you. He is not telling you, hey, do your cross, remember Jesus. He's saying, I'm honoring you as a living icon of Christ. That in baptism, you are made, and especially in baptism, but even before, when you're created by God, you are made in his image and likeness. So you carry this beautiful icon, this living icon, right? And we're always trying to be worthy of that, to become a living icon of Christ, right? And so the priest is honoring you. And so when he honors you and he senses you, the proper thing is to bow and to accept the honor, to say thank you. And so you bow. That's the more appropriate thing. If you pay attention, when priests serve together, there's a liturgia, they're co-liturgizing together. When they sense each other, they bow to each other. They never do their cross. So that's the trick. Or when the bishop, if the bishop is serving and he senses the priest just bow, right? So that's the cue. It's like, why are they bowing and I'm doing my cross, right? So the more appropriate thing is to do your cross. So I hope that answers.
Well, and the message here is, I think most of us assume that whatever a priest does, maybe there's special rules for you guys, that you do different things than us, but I think you'd be surprised at how many of us, myself included, that don't know. And I guess that's the whole point of these chats, but don't know why we do certain things or when to do them or how to do them. And this is one of them. This is one of them that I had no idea up until a couple years ago when it came up that that's what we do.
Yeah, and also just there's another question that's already come up, but I was just checking the power there. But I wanted to just clarify one thing, because somebody asked about when they said the hat during Mass. This is not like a criticism; it's just a pet peeve of mine. Mass is the inappropriate word to use. Mass is a Catholic word, right? So a lot of people say it because we don't know, and we kind of grow up in North America. Maybe our spouses are Catholic, and so we say, when is Mass starting? We don't have Mass. We have divine liturgy or liturgy, right? That's the word, the Orthodox word. Mass is when Catholics refer to liturgy, right? Catholics sometimes call it liturgy as well, right? But the proper word in the Orthodox tradition is liturgy. When does liturgy start? When are you serving liturgy or Vespers or Matins, Orthros, different services? But we don't have Mass in the Orthodox Church. So it's just like when people say it, it's like I get confused, because are we talking about the Catholic Church or are we talking about the Orthodox Church?
Just as you are not a pastor, you are a priest.
I'm a priest, yeah. There's a difference between a pastor and a priest, or a preacher and a priest.
Reverend.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question here. We're getting back to Easter, which is good. On Saturday night of Holy Weekend, we still light a lavada and mark a cross above our front door, or is that not really appropriate for this year since it's not from church?
No, it is appropriate. So we kind of, sorry for the person who asked this, we answered half of it earlier before you logged on, that we want everybody to do their Christos Anesti at home. That's why we started that group, which is, I'll say it again, it's Pascha at Home 2020 on Facebook. Go find the group, become a member. It's open. You don't have to request anything, just join it. And we want everybody to sing their Christos Anesti when they're following their churches on live stream, and light their labades at home from their own kadilaki, and chant their Christos Anesti, and to videotape that and to post it on the Facebook group so we can see everybody's Christos Anesti. We can't be with everybody, but at least we can see everybody's recording of it, which I think would be very beautiful, to see everybody's home, in their homes, bringing Christos Anesti into their homes, which is beautiful in itself. And of course, yes, you can take your labada and you can mark the sign of your cross on your door awning, and I think that everybody should be doing that. And especially this year, we should be making a statement, especially this year, that Christ is risen and it's not dead, he's alive. And Pascha is not dead; it's alive. Even if we're doing it from our homes, it's even more important to emphasize that. Yeah.
Gotcha. And we'll just double check. I did get a request from someone to join the group, so we'll just double check afterwards that it is open. But look for it.
It should be open.
Post your videos, and hopefully we can see a lot of what's happening out there, even though we can't all be together this year.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know what time is it. It's we're at the hour mark. It's 8 o'clock. Do we have any other? Maybe we'll take one more question before we log off.
Yeah. Any other questions from anybody about Holy Week or anything really?
Mm-hmm.
Just while we're waiting for any last questions, just to recap some of the things we talked about in terms of practicality. So Father Ted is going to, and has been already, posting a number of resources for both further learning and then of course for Holy Week. There are a couple of outstanding questions we just simply don't know the answers to, like what, when, and how bay leaves and the palms and the unction will be available, if they'll be available.
The palms will not be available.
Palms will not be available
because a lot of churches are not even ordering them because most florists are shut down.
Right.
There's very few. There's not even any stock in most florists. So it's like we can't even accommodate. So there won't be any palms to be given out. Whether we have Holy Unction available for when the quarantine lifts, or things like that, we'll have to take a look at that. Yeah.
Okay, and so then, in terms of resources, we've got some great resources on there, especially for the little ones. Father Ted and Fr.TEDTalks Joanna actually posted a great resource today in the Facebook group, so take a peek at that. And then also Saturday at 1 o'clock, Father Ted and I will be doing a live session with kids. So please let people know that we're going to be doing this live and with kids, and that we're going to be answering any questions that they have. This should be fun because kids ask great questions. Mm-hmm. And then we do have a final question that came through right before we end. And actually, there's a couple of questions at the end, Father, so I don't know if you want to...
We can take them. It's okay.
We can take them? Okay. So it says, how can one be a good Christian leading to Pascha by helping those who are elderly, sick, poor, and alone during this crisis?
So this question, we already answered it last time on the last session.
Oh, yes, we did.
But that's okay. So basically the short answer is that we do the best we can under the circumstances that we have. So because we have kind of like a paradox between how much we can help people physically, right? We can't get out to see people because there's a danger that we could infect them or we could be carrying the virus. But at the same time, there's nothing stopping us from picking up the phone, calling them, checking in on them. If they're younger or even older and they're technologically inclined, we can FaceTime with them or do Google Hangouts or some kind of video chat. And if they don't have that, everybody has a phone, so we can call them and just check in not just with your family, but your neighbors, people that that you may have their number. Just call them and make sure they're okay. And of course we can go out and do like a shopping run for them, like, and leave it at their door. Like there's a lot of things we can do there, even though we cannot like go in and spend time with them like physically. And so we do the best we can. Don't forget each other. Keep tabs on the people who are in your parish, maybe people you haven't heard from for a while. And that's the best we can do at this point. And also send in names for prayer, just like we'll pray for everybody. So you can text me, you can email me, you can email Fr.TEDTalks@gmail, Fr.TED@Mac. through the website, whatever you want, and we'll continue to pray for everybody as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, drop off some Easter eggs if you have them. If you made something for Easter, and even just letting some of your elderly family and friends know about the services that are being streamed online. If you can get them an iPad or something so that they still can feel connected. The question came up about, will there be an automatic notification? So if someone is subscribed to this channel, Father, will they get a notification when the service begins? I think they do.
I think they do if you're subscribed to it. Like I constantly post as well. Like, so, you know, the services, so the services are posted on our website. So all the church services for all the churches have all their services posted on their Facebook groups, on their church websites. It's no different for us. I have both. If you go on the St. Constant and Helen group, I have the church, and even on my own Father Ted page, I have the church program for all the services. And so we follow that program. So whatever, if it says, you know, that there's a bridegroom service at 6 p.m., then that's when we'll be live, right? And also I post it live on the Facebook group as well. But just follow the church program, which is already posted, and we'll be here. It's pretty straightforward.
So I think we can take, so there's one more question, and unless anything else comes through. Why was frankincense chosen by the church for censing?
Well, frankincense is not, so interestingly enough, it's not just frankincense. Yeah, no, that's a myth. Incense is used, and lots of different types of incense are used, not frankincense. It's, I don't know why people think it's frankincense, because it's scripture. Like there's lots of different types of incense made from different resins and different, you know, things, different materials. Frankincense is just one of like hundreds and hundreds of, actually thousands of different smells and types of incense. And we use a lot of different types of incense, right? The type of incense is not important. It's the use of it, which represents our prayers rising to heaven, right? So, you know, you have your censer and you have your charcoal, and the charcoal represents earth. And you have the incense, which is our prayers, and it's sweet to God, right? Like it's a sweet fragrance to God. We mentioned that in the divine liturgy, that, you know, that our prayer will be like a sweet fragrance going up to God, right? And the smoke that goes up represents our prayers that are being lifted up, right? So this is the point of using the incense, not the type of incense. In the ancient world, frankincense was the most used incense, and maybe that's why people think we always use it. But now there's a lot of different options in how we use, what type of incense we use.
The reason people don't know is because they don't know. We just, you know, this is exactly why we do this kind of chat, which is to inform people. So perhaps it's a good place to leave it there. Again, reminder, Saturday, Father Ted Talks Live with kids. Please encourage people to bring their kids online, and we'll get them to type some questions and see what they have to come up with. I think people are enjoying the format. So, Father, I think you've agreed that maybe we could do this 1 or 2 more times leading up to Pascha?
Yeah, I think that we're Saturday at 1 p.m. we'll do one for kids. So if you have kids, log on just like you would, but have your children with you, of course. And if they have questions, you'll have to type them for them, because that's the only way we can do this. And we'll answer as many as we can, specifically from the children. And then probably like maybe Monday night, the bridegroom service, we can do like right after the bridegroom service. We have it here, I think, at 6 p.m. So we'll be done around 7:15-ish. So maybe 7:30. Like I'll post, obviously I will post the flyer for it, just like I did for this, in the Facebook group, both in the Father Ted Talks and on my personal page, and also in the church one. So it's all over the place. So try to spread it as much as you can. And we'll do one probably on Monday night, and then probably again, I haven't decided. I will see the schedule. Maybe on Holy Thursdays. We could do it on Holy Thursday after the 12 Gospels, or we could do it on Holy Friday after the Epitafio. Probably somewhere there we'll do it, and that way we'll get 2 more of these for adults and 1 more for the children. I think that's a lot. That's plenty for Holy Week, plus all the services. So yeah.
And if you have any questions between now and then, or you want your questions to be private or anonymous, you can always email FrTEDTalks@gmail.com, and or send them to either one of us directly. We really hope that you enjoyed being here with us live, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. God bless you. I'll be posting in the description as soon as this posts. It'll take a few minutes for the video to post, and I'll post in the description all the links that I mentioned, all the Holy Week services and the coronavirus service, all those things. I'll post them there, and I've already posted them also in the in the Father TED Talks group as well, except for the Ages Initiative services. I'm going to post that as well right now. So you'll have both, and hopefully those resources will help you guys greatly.
All right.
God bless you guys. Kalia Nastasi, and we'll see you guys. See you on Saturday. Take care.